Getting stuck overthinking not only feels so overwhelming, but actually fuels your anxiety. When you have these thoughts of like, what if this goes wrong? How can I prevent this? What if I get this wrong? All those other kind of questions that feel so automatic, what actually happens is that it further fuels more self doubt, more fear, more anxiety, and actually keeps you stuck and paralyzed. In today's video, we're going to talk about what you can do instead. Let's start by talking about the process that's actually going on at this point. So when we think about self-doubt or fear, so something happens, there's something that will bring on this self-doubt. So maybe your boss asked you to do a presentation, or maybe your friend asked you, I don't know, to go to an event and like be a speaker. Whatever the case is, there's an opportunity or something shows up, and then immediately you might notice this feeling of self-doubt show up, right? Whatever that might look like for you. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's kind of shame, maybe it's a little bit of both, and you start having these kind of automatic questions. Maybe you already said yes, or maybe you're not sure. Maybe you're like, I'm going to get back to them. But in that process of either already confirming or confirming, these like thoughts start to show up that make you doubt and question yourself. Like, what if I'm not good enough? Why do they think I can handle this? I'm such a fraud, right? So some of that imposter syndrome thoughts show up as well. And what happens is once those thoughts show up, right, and you're feeling really uncomfortable, you might just start feeding them, right? You start entertaining them. You start going back and forth. And this back and forth, right, because sometimes it might look like, especially when we start to overthink, it's just trying to play out scenarios that could happen. And really your mind will go into the descriptive storytelling mode and like describe all the ways this could go wrong or why you're the wrong person for this and doubting yourself. Or sometimes, and then you kind of fall prey to those thoughts and you believe what your mind is saying. Sometimes it might look like you actually trying to like hype yourself up and be like, no, I can do this. I got this. What are you talking about? But when you kind of do that, sometimes you just get stuck in this like volleyball debate back and forth with your mind, because then your mind is kind of like a ninja and finds other things to say and knows what to say that will get you to be like, ooh, okay, well, I don't know about that one. So what you want to start noticing is that first, it's not your fault that your mind is doing this. This is just your mind doing its thing. This is part of how our minds work. There's a evolutionary component as well. It's just like how language has developed in our mind. So kind of let go of the self-judgment or shame that the self-doubt thoughts show up, right? And of course, it's normal that maybe there's a level of discomfort or fear that's showing up. So again, giving room for this is just part of the process that can show up. But once you start letting that process keep going, if you get really stuck either way, trying to debate these thoughts or just believing everything you say, and ultimately that leads you to feeling more and more distress and potentially even saying no or avoiding the situations or doing them, but like there's just so much distress throughout the entire process for you, then maybe there's a different way. And actually, no, there is a different way that I want to talk a little bit about. But first, it's really just noticing that this is a normal process that a lot of us go through, and there's nothing that you didn't make this happen. This is just a little bit what's showing up for you. And there can be a learning history here involved as well. Maybe you have a history of people doubting you. Maybe you've always kind of had this kind of insecurity. Maybe it's a specific area that's showing up. Maybe you have a history of very critical parents. There might be a lot of things in your learning history that's also contributing to some of this self-doubt that's showing up now. What are some of your self-doubt triggers? So really get curious here. What are the things that will typically cause you to have this automatic reaction? Let me know in the comments below to see if there's any commonalities that we can pick up from each other. There are certain things that's just across the board feels really hard for us. Again, let me know in the comments below. Key here is that when you start having these like automatic thoughts that are doubting yourself, there's this concept in acceptance and commitment therapy and acceptance and commitment coaching where we can get really fused to certain thoughts. So a thought shows up and it's kind of like there's no space with them. We kind of forget that like a thought is a thought, and just because we have it, it's not a rule or a commitment that we have to follow. But when we start to have these like fear-based questions like what if I fail, or what if I just can't do this, whatever doubt is showing up, we get really fused to those thoughts, right? So your mind is giving you all these stories, and the minute they give you these stories, or even if it starts to paint the scenario, like I said, of what could go wrong, you get really fused to those stories. And so what we want to start to do is start to create some distance, especially from the thoughts that aren't really helpful. Because if you really start to think about it, and like I mentioned earlier, once you start entertaining those thoughts, you start going down a rabbit hole. And I say down a rabbit hole very intentionally because I've worked with a lot of people who tend to doubt themselves, overthink, or anxious, or worriers. And maybe I have a little bit of that as well. But either way, you really can go into these intricate rabbit holes and get really descriptive and really details. And before you know it, this scenario that you're painting is just hiking up so much anxiety, but it feels so real. It's kind of hard to remind yourself that that's just a thought that's not happening. Like we need to like turn off that movie right now, or at least press pause on it and come back to our reality. And so part of that is really starting to understand when you're having these thoughts and noticing these automatic thoughts and wanting to create a little bit more space from the ones that aren't helpful, the ones that just get you stuck going down this rabbit hole. So one way to really shift this is once you notice and can really pinpoint those fear-based questions and doubts showing up, and maybe you've already gone down the rabbit hole a little bit, is to really start to acknowledge like, okay, this is what's happening, right? And at any moment you can backtrack and then you can start to shift, right? You're not going to ignore or engage in those thoughts, but you can also focus your attention on other thoughts. Some other thoughts and other questions that you could really ask yourself are really valued aligned questions. So when someone, whatever was the thing that brought up this trigger, the situation, being asked to do a presentation or speak at a friend's event, whatever it was about that caused that distress, I would encourage you to really think and be like, okay, what about this situation is important to me? Like, why would it be worth it? What about speaking at this? What is meaningful for me here? So one thing that we want to do is tap into our values, because this is the thing. Fear is going to be there and it's allowed to be there. You don't have to get rid of it, but our values can also be there. We can also kind of take a moment and find our values in this situation. And maybe this compass, like this can be our compass that we dust off and gives us this sense of direction, even though fear is riding shotgun or is in our backpack. Like both of those things can be walking on this journey with you. But part of that is to acknowledge, like, why is it worth it for you? What's important about this, right? And getting really clear. Maybe for the presentation, it's important for your growth to expose yourself, to put yourself out there, to challenge yourself, to share your experiences with other people. Whatever value is showing up for you, really be clear on that. And then kind of acknowledge, like, how do I want to show up in this moment, regardless of my fear, from a place of my values? How do I want to show up? And just as much as you can go down rabbit holes of like painting these pictures of like what feels really negative or catastrophic, I also want you to like take a moment and paint the possibility of this very valued aligned picture of what you want it to look like. Because I also want you to imagine that that is also possible. I know when we start to get stuck in this like anxiety, overwhelm, and worry, like our mind forgets that that's only one perspective, that also we don't even know if it's going to happen because clearly no one can predict the future. But there's also another range of possibilities here. And one of these possibilities is that this way that you want it to show up or happen will actually happen. That will come to fruition, right? And I want you to imagine that that's also equally a possibility. And once you have that clear picture of what that could look like, you can start to walk yourself backwards and ask yourself, what are the actions that I would need to take to get there? Or how do I need to tap into my courage to do that? Right? Or what type of support do I need internally, externally to help me still move forward? Again, acknowledging that my fear is going to be there, but my values are also going to be there. And maybe I'm going to allow my values to weigh more heavily in this situation. So if we're putting this all together, one simple way to really practice this is next time you notice this showing up, whatever self-doubt shows up and these fear-based questions pop up, I want you to pause, right? So like pause, take a deep breath, or do something else to like get you back in this moment, ground, put your feet on the floor, push your hands against something. And I want you to visualize whatever these fear-based questions are that are making you doubt yourself, whatever your mind is saying. Imagine that's just like a text notification that you got. It's a notification, but you don't have to open it and engage in this back and forth with it. So you're going to notice it. And if you ask yourself, is engaging with this message, is it going to help me somehow? If not, you're not going to engage with it. And you're still going to come back to like, here you are present, and ask yourself, what would be the next small step I would need to do here, right? So the next small step might be, hey, I just need to keep being with this discomfort for a little bit longer without engaging with what my mind says. Maybe the next small step is saying, maybe I just need to say yes to this event, knowing that it feels uncomfortable, but it's really important to me. Maybe the next small step, it's like, maybe I just need myself time before I decide anything. Whatever it is, right? Just getting really clear. What's the next small, courageous step I could take here based on your values, not on that kind of spammy text message that you got. And that practice of just really quickly catching that fear-based and not going down those rabbit holes and not engaging with it, not entertaining it, and coming back to like sitting with it, allowing yourself to be really uncomfortable for a moment, but also tapping into your courage in that moment. The truth is, fear and self-doubt don't have to disappear for you to take consistent small steps forward. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable. Yes, you might have a pattern of getting really stuck. And you can practice and learn how to do something different. And when I say practice, I want to acknowledge this is a skill of learning how to sit with our discomfort without entertaining every self doubt thought or fear based question that shows up in our mind. But this is something that's very doable that you can do over time. Because the truth is, most people who move forward, it's not that they left fear or self doubt behind. They just learned how to sit with it. They just learned how to allow them to be passengers on their journey without allowing those passengers to take over the ride. And so that's something that you can definitely learn how to do. All right, guys, I hope you continue nurturing your mind, body, and souls, whatever that looks like for you. And I hope you have a great one.